everyone, welcome back to the Tech Podcast with Ksenia Ramanava. And today our guest is Anastasia, who is a product manager at Google. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. The only thing, I'm not product manager, I'm team lead, but let's talk about it later. Yes, but thank you so much for having me. I do really appreciate it.
That's amazing. Thank you very much. Let's dive deeper into your career and please tell us and share your history, your story, and your journey to Google.
So currently I'm a team lead at YouTube. And the last, I think, 3 years, I've been working in London in this team. But I've been at Google, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years. Before I was working 3 years in Moscow in a different team, which is Google Ads team. So my journey to Google, I think, started a long time ago, to be honest. So it's not like I got here immediately. It was quite a path. So I think I started looking for the first opportunity at Google 10 years ago, and it took me, I think it took me 5 years, and it's like 4 or 5 applications just to get the role. So it took quite a while.
Maybe we can start with the question: why Google?
It's a really good question. I mean, many people know Google because it's just a great brand, great company. Google has amazing products, which is true. But I think it for me, it's a bit deeper because for me, it was important that company has the same values as I do. And I remember when I was maybe 10 years ago, I was in Mountain View and I had a friend who was working at Google. And I just asked him, could you just show me the office? And I think once I saw the office, once I saw people having, the atmosphere, how they seemed happy, they looked happy, they work in the teams. I remember the office, I remember the energy there, and I felt like Google could be really the right place to work. And also after, of course, diving deep, I tried to understand what basically the company is about, and it really resonated me. I think the combination of both, that it's really result oriented and it's entrepreneurial in a way, which I always love. But on the other side, it's about ownership. So you don't have to work, like maybe 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day, but you have to own the results. And I think the combination of these two was really resonated with me. So that time I realized, if I want to work in a corporation, then I should probably focus on Google. And since then, my journey with applications started. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have a specific mission, even now or when you start your career, and in Google and beyond?
That's a good question. To be honest, I think about it a lot because I think it's very important to feel fulfilled. And for me, one of the things I would say it's definitely bringing value to people. I mean, it sounds nice, but it's exactly how I feel. I feel like it's important when you go through many things in your life. Like sometimes it's challenges, sometimes it's just nice things or amazing things to celebrate. But life is different, so I think it's very important once you feel you helped yourself within different, like working with therapists and other people. I think once you went through some difficulties, you learn something there and you trying to help other people. So this is definitely something inspiring to me, and particularly women, because I know in emerging markets, and for me as well, it took quite a while to be where I'm at now. So it was a journey, and I want to help people and maybe inspire in some way to continue and just don't give up.
You said that you tried to get an offer 5 times. Tell a little bit more about it, how it was. How did you feel?
Oh, I think the first time when I applied, I didn't know that much, to be honest. I tried to do my best. I tried to prepare. I tried to ask people around, like who could help me to prepare, to be honest. But I think interview is a skill. And when I applied the first time, I was just, it's not me. It's not me who was not good enough. It was just I didn't have enough skills to be good for this role. So I feel after trying, and I think maybe I had 15 or 20 interviews, during all these applications before I really get the job. So I feel it's important, don't take it personally. So trying to kind of work on your skills instead. And once you become better in an interview process, of course, having a good CV, having a good LinkedIn profile, and all this basic application package, then you have more chances. And I feel like when I kind of applied the fifth time, I already did it way better with lots of kind of learnings, and that's why I got the job. But of course, always an element of luck, which we shouldn't kind of forget about. It's kind of hard work plus element of luck, and you're in a good place.
I totally agree with you. But what do you think the most important?
I think it's a lot about, first of all, self-awareness. When I applied the first time, I didn't really knew what are my top skills. Why should they really hire me? I didn't understand my personal brand, what I tried to sell, right? In terms of like, why they should actually take me. And also, I think in terms of interview, I didn't do enough mock-up interviews. I felt like I was prepared, but to be honest, last time I did this preparation, I had almost 100 questions to prepare and go through. So it was it was more conscious way of preparing. And I had really good, I think, like I got good answers to each of the questions. So I spent time to really preparing. And I think once you really prepare to the interview, you could show your personality, because you shouldn't focus on what you're going to say, because you know what you're going to say. But instead, you're trying to show yourself, trying to show kind of your energy a bit, which is important because it's about also chemistry between you and the like hiring manager or peer. And I think it's very important.
Talking about the hiring process at Google, could you please remind me how many interviews in a row do you usually have?
I could share, of course, kind of from my personal experience and more external shareable information, so I can't really deep dive into other stuff, I would say. But what I could say is usually I think it's like one interview with HR and few interviews with peers. I think 3 interviews altogether with peers and manager, and potentially could be a director. So it really depends. But there are many information you could find, I think, which is important to say. And people sometimes don't, I think, really know the sources they should look into. So I really encourage you to check Glassdoor. So this is one of the websites. You could check the salary range, first of all, because I think it's also very important. Quite often people don't really know the range, and they just want to get the job. I don't care. I think this is important. And also in Glassdoor, they have list of interview questions different people share, which you try to combine and just have in the full list. So I think it's really useful once you prepare it. Yeah.
I have a friend and he applied at Meta, and he used to work at Meta 5 years ago, and he shared some interview questions after the interview, and they were the same as he had 5 years ago.
And lots of questions, more behavioral questions, right? They kind of give an example of time when you did something or led something, or could be anything. But exactly that's why I said self-awareness is important, because once you really understand really well your experience, you have great case studies from your past, right, which you could sell, and you use the right way of answering the question. The STAR model, it's situation, tasks, action, result. So the way you're answering it is kind of trying to close the loop and show the result you achieved with your actions. I think in this way you could always be a way more successful candidate generally.
Perfect. Okay, that was amazing achievement. You got the job. That's one thing. But another thing, how to proceed with that, how to build a career at Google. It's very competitive atmosphere, I guess, maybe not. And share your journey inside Google.
At Google, it's not important only what, but also how. So it's not just only about achieving some results, which is everywhere, but also it's about how you're achieving these results. If you're a nice person to work with, what team players gonna say about you. So I think it's very important to focus on how you bring, what impact you bring to community, what impact you bring to the team. And that's why I think it creates overall really balanced culture.
Mhm.
I also said before about kind of ownership, entrepreneurship piece. I kind of, for me, the mindset I think which is really useful to have is, I mean, some people do it differently, but what I try personally to do to myself is that I like to feel as an entrepreneur working in the company, and of course having the company and my partners to grow. But on the other side, I try to grow my career as well. So I'm thinking how Google could help me there, instead feeling of like I'm just a tiny piece in the huge corporation, which is not usually helpful, because in this way you kind of, I think, don't really spend much time understanding of your goals and what you want to achieve, but you just kind of hiding behind this huge machine, which I don't really like. So yeah, it's I think it's very important to have this kind of ownership mindset and going through whatever happens with the kind of understanding why.
Tell a bit more about your current role.
I'm basically helping creators on YouTube, and could be the media companies, could be huge agencies who are working with the creators to grow on YouTube. By grow, it could mean different things, but of course, I helping them to understand the product better. I'm happy to, from operational perspective, I'm solving lots of problems to them, but also I'm trying to sometimes help from the strategic perspective. So types of questions could be different. Our meetings could be different with partners, but the goal is to help them to succeed on the platform. And I think it's a nice place to be, because media industry is very exciting, very dynamic and very competitive, which I personally like, because I don't like doing the same stuff for the long time.
Could you share some tools, methodologies, approach that you learned by working at Google?
I would say, first of all, it's about teamwork. So before, I mean, it depends on your culture. And I think culture code is very important, because in Russia, I mean, I can't say it's collectivistic or individualistic, because it really depends. But at Google, you have to be a team player. So I think it's a skill, because people could have different motivations within your team, like as everywhere. But you need to achieve some results with different people and their motivation. So the skill how to work together is actually, I think, super important. And at Google, because of this kind of interview process, let's say filters, we got really great people, and it's very nice to work with them and learn from each other. So this is definitely what I super admire about this corporation. And I think we are very much, let's say, result driven. So we have different tools we use. We don't I usually use, to be honest, like very simple one, Trixes, Google Slides, Google Docs. It looks very simple, but it's very convenient to use if you know what you need to achieve. And basically you just build there on top of these tools. And from project management perspective, it usually really works.
Oh, because I heard lots of stories from a person who used to work at Google. He said that my manager, when I just arrived, and my manager asked me to write down everything about me, some skills, some passions, some goals, and important information about your personality that will help me and the team communicate and work together.
Greatest gift could be just knowing the person you're working with. And I think in some companies, they don't spend much time on that. And that's wrong, because once you really know the person, what drains them, or basically the opposite gives them energy, drives them, you could really help to achieve the person's goal and the company goals, which is very important. So I think focusing on personal development piece is one of the top things. So what we do, I know we have different, tests, like tons of 16 personality tests, anything available. You could do, what's the name? It's about different color codes, but basically when you're trying to understand the personality based on that. And after that, you see what actually the strengths of, the Gallup strength test, I think one of them, when you can get the person's strengths and after see what strengths other team players have, and after exactly combining them, because the greatest team is when the strengths are different, and then you're combining them and you're achieving results. And I think spending time on that is super critical for manager in the company. So I really like this, again, mindset and approach. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, cool. I know that you are into coaching. Why is it important for you?
I usually try to just have the exercise, which what drains me, what drives me. And I just noticed after some months of doing it, so I really quite like this exercise. I feel like when I coach people, when I share my expertise, because coaching is different from mentorship, just I think very important point. So mentorship is about sharing my experience and giving my perspective on things. And coaching is about guiding person to answer the question within themselves, which is two different approaches. So I feel like coaching really helps. After having the coaching session, I feel really energized because if it helps people basically. And also, I've been a manager, right? So after having coaching conversation with my team, I just realized this is what I like the most about my job. So that's why now, actually, I think next month, today is March, and in April, I'm gonna start studying in Brown University. Basically, it's going to be a remote program, an 8-month program, when I'm gonna hopefully learn more about coaching tools, techniques, and I think also having a great network. So really, really looking forward to this.
Yeah, cool. Do you have like personal coach as well? Or you just
Yeah. I think everyone needs a coach because you need kind of external perspective on everything. So I have a coach, and we're usually meeting bi-weekly. 80% of your success actually depends on you, how much homework you do, how much time you spend on reflecting, and etc. So coach is more like a guiding tool who helps you to navigate the next step and try kind of to keep you accountable. So this is I think, role of a good coach.
Okay.
Or sometimes challenge your beliefs, because quite often we kind of could look very narrow and could be kind of stuck because of our beliefs. So I think coach could challenge it in a safe environment. Usually they call it brave environment, so you can challenge, but you can also feel safe. And in this way, you could actually help the person to, I think, look in the same situation differently, let's say.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's talk about well-being. How do you support yourself to maintain your, stable mental health and peace, especially in the modern work environment?
I think, first of all, I have my priorities, which lies not within only the work. I was before, like a few years ago, I was the type of person who could work the whole day because I just loved working. I loved kind of, it's not like I forced myself to work. I just love it. So, but now I feel like I'm more balanced, and I have my health and physical shape is one priority, definitely. Kind of personal life and hobbies is different priority, and the third priority is work. So I am a big fan of having maybe 3, maximum 4 goals per year. I don't like having 8 or like the wheel of balance. For me, it's just too much. So I try to find within each of these 3 goals something which is really inspire me and which I really looking forward to, and focusing on that. And just every day when I do anything, feels like if it actually helps me to get to my goal, it just makes me one step back. So it's really good, I think, filter and helps you to focus better.
I heard about another wave of layoff at Google. Could you please share at least your perspective and your point of view on that?
Yeah, I could share just maybe my perspective and what's been already externally shareable, right? So I can't share more. But from my perspective, again, I don't know, but I feel like it's gonna be a new trend. It's not just one time, and I think it's gonna continue in the future. And the reason why I'm thinking about that, because when you look externally at Google reports, you see the company is growing. So it feels like no matter, it doesn't depend how much people actually work in there. And even with layoffs, we see that the company is still growing. So thinking of that, my predictions, which I don't know, is that it could be in the future as well. So I feel like these days, which is very, of course, unstable and kind of feels really bad, to be honest, be a part of it because it creates lots of uncertainty, it creates a lot of stress. But for me, the way I look into this, again, it's going to be a bigger competition, unfortunately, in the tech space. So you have to be so good. There is a book which I really love. It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And this is exactly my mindset. So you have to be so good at something, people can't ignore you. And you just have to continue basically understanding yourself better and working on it rather than waiting for the next wave. Just again, taking ownership of even though sometimes, again, it's easy to say because I don't, for example, have now kids or I don't have anything which could make it a way harder. But on the other side, I'm on working visa and, if I'm going to be fired, for me, it's going to be hard. I need to fight against sponsorship in the UK. So I also understand that it will make my life a way harder if it happens.
Talking about your particular role, what do you think the most important skills to succeed?
You have to be resilient, I would say. So resilience, it's a big, big skill. And I think once you go through many changes in life, in externally in corporation, many kind of factors affecting your performance in life, I feel once you have this resilience to go through it and learn from it and continue growing, it makes you definitely so different from many people, because many people just give up. Many people take it personally. Many people, unfortunately, and again, I understand it completely, but very much invest emotionally into many situations, which is, again, including myself, right? But it's important, I think, to have resilience to continue. That's a skill. Ability to learn all the time and ability to be curious, because you have to read a lot to prepare for the interview, to prepare for, and generally to work, right? You have to all the time read, talk, reflect. And it's so many information you have to kind of process, right? Because it's media is so dynamic, and generally tech is dynamic, but you have to read a lot and you have to spend time to reflect. You can't just read and, keep moving all the time. So ability to learn how to use AI, ability to learn how to use, how to understand trends, how to predict something. So all these things, I think, would definitely help to get the role, because you will be curious, you will be interested, and you will be passionate, and it shows in your basically interviews.
Yeah, cool. Do you have a specific procedure regarding retrospective and reflection of the past? So, for example, I'm trying to do that. Yeah. So at the end of the working day, I'm trying to sit down and spend 15 minutes to write down everything I learned, positive and negative. Tell me about your approach.
Yeah, I think it's the best one, to be honest, because I don't think you need to overcomplicate things. My ideal scenario is that in the morning I write 3 pages. This is one of the exercises. Basically, you wake up, you just, I grab my coffee and I just write 3 pages a day in the morning. Wherever is in my head, I just write down. And it's good exercise because the first page is just, it could be, everything. I'm sitting on my sofa. I have no thoughts. What should I write about? It could be literally about nothing, but I think the second and third page usually gives more insights, or your worries or your concerns, which could take you back in the morning. So what I try to do, I just kind of try to get rid of this, sometimes thoughts or anything. And after these 3 pages, you have so much energy because all your kind of concerns are gone because you wrote them down. So this is definitely one thing just to start, I think, your day if you feel like there is something which holds you back. And in the evening, definitely reflection. I do, just as you said, drives and drains, literally just what you remember from the day, just write down. And after 1 week, just look into this and again, kind of try to see the trend. And ideally reflect on that. And by reflection, I mean, it's not just exactly now, for example, which gives you energy and which drains you. But what most people do is just to keep doing the same things. So they see it, but they're okay, whatever. But I think the goal here is exactly to can analyze it and change it so you have more, let's say, positive things happen in your life and less negative. And you can't do it without making analysis on a weekly basis. Yeah, it's important, I think.
Actually, that's remind me, your post on Telegram. You have Telegram channel. We can add a link below in the description. And I read your post about that. So you should analyze not only positive things in your life, but also negative, and try to reduce negative things that make you sad, dismotivate you, and so on. So it was amazing exercise that I did. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy because I think it's not just about events, it's about people as well. It's about everything, right? Because everything which takes our energy, okay, it could happen one time or two times. I mean, it doesn't have to be always positive. But if you see a trend, you have to take ownership and change something in your life according to your feelings as well, because you can't, you need energy. That's the time and energy are two sources which kind of helps you to succeed. That's the only thing which you need.
Yeah, cool. Maybe you can share any other exercises that could help you and other people to maintain stable mental peace and at least like positive mind.
There are so many things happening externally in our head that it's hard to focus because you're kind of distracted. So what I do, and which I really believe is important, setting your morning go time. So what I put usually 1.5 hours in the morning, and there I'm focusing on, and that's how I start my working day, by the way. I'm focusing what is important and urgent, and I start with this, because quite often the tasks which are important and urgent, you don't kind of like them, you just don't feel like you want to do them, and you start procrastinating. And once you start procrastinating, it creates the loop which you think about it the whole day. You don't do any other things, but you kind of just almost worry and concerned that you don't start it.
Yeah.
But I feel that's so important to set this 1 hour, for me it's 1.5 hours time to do this. And once you're done with it, you feel so good about yourself. And after you can do wherever else you need to do, but you already kind of finished the most important and urgent, which is amazing.
I personally have like some issues. For example, I can't say, okay, guys, I have 2 hours. Please don't disrupt me, because I also like not manage directly, but I help them answering questions, support team, and not one, a few at the same time. So I can say like, guys, I'm not available for 2 hours.
I never do it in my desk. Exactly, in the office space, because first of all, it's noisy. People could be, have fun. It's okay. It's a space. It's not just about me, right? So what I do, I usually go to another floor. I take my coffee. I find a really quiet space where I could focus. I just sit and put in the calendar focus time, and I just do the exercises. What I need to do. But you're right, and again, it's about finding what works for you to have this time. So sometimes it's not happens automatically. You have to kind of build this environment which works for you. For example, having, even a separate space at home, like the desk, the quiet space where you could just focus. So no one else would disturb you at home even, or the same in the office.
Yeah, I personally use Slack. I'm not sure they use, I guess, other tools at Google. Yeah. But anyway, any communication tools that you use, so you can't be unavailable for 2 hours. It seems like I can't allow myself to be unavailable for a few hours in a row. Maybe it's my issue, not the issue of my team.
Well, no, it's everyone kind of. This is a fear of missing out, right? When you're thinking that it's important to check what's happening, but in reality, we're not saving lives. This is one. And the second, usually within 2 hours, if something happens, you will anyways know it. They will find you. Or the third way, they would call you. They will find you. But the third way, usually 99.9%, nothing happens there. It's just some people, just addressing their questions and issues. And it's just not about you again. It's about them quite often. So I think it's important to kind of disconnect and give yourself this time and space. But after, of course, you're available. After, you could help, again, it's just you need to prioritize your time.
I love this advice. I will incorporate it in my work life 100%. At least I will try.
Everyone could do that. I'm sure about that. I know there are lots of distractions, but I'm sure everyone could kind of build it, this quiet space for themselves. Even if you have kids, you could think how you could do it. I mean, it's just possible for everyone.
Let's talk about your goals.
My personal goal this year, because I'm trying to work on my personal brand. And this is also the reason why, for example, I'm participating in your podcast, because I think it's important to practice your skills in public speaking and become better in it. So for me, it's important to build my personal brand, and I would like to kind of focus on even more on bringing value to people via different kind of tools, let's say. So it could be social networks, different kind of media, social media, let's say. Also, I need to start working more on my LinkedIn, which is my goal this year. But most importantly, of course, is to continue growing. In order to share, you need to grow. So to grow, it's going to be Brown University, and hopefully at the end of it, I could get coaching accreditation. It's International Coaching Federation, so ICF certificate. And for that, I need to have 100 hours of coaching practice. So it's already kind of, that's why I like this program, because I know it incorporates a lot of practice. And yeah, and also, of course, I'm listening to lots of podcasts, I'm reading a lot. So I'm a huge fan of self-development generally. This is my goal this year. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. It was incredibly insightful. And guys, please like and share this video.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, you can always be guys in touch. And I think LinkedIn for me would be the professional wise, it would be the easiest source to be in touch. So yeah, thank you so much, Ksenia, for organizing it and for your time. I really love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anastasia. Bye-bye.